Hi everyone, and welcome to episode number 72 of the Karen Knits podcast. My name is Karen, and I'm coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania in the United States, where I live, where I work, where I knit, and where I get into all kinds of other crafting shenanigans. I'm so happy to have you here with me today. It is Saturday, July the 17th, 2021, and we've got a hot summer's day here. It's in the low 90s Fahrenheit. I'm thankful for air conditioning. We'll just leave it at that. So, if you're a new viewer, thank you so much for checking me out. I hope you enjoy it and I hope you stick around. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back for another week to see what I've been up to. I appreciate everyone who's taken the time to spend some time watching what I'm nattering about. I appreciate it so much. If you enjoy what you're viewing, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, like this video, share it with your friends. But either which way, sit back, enjoy, grab a beverage, and let's see what I've been up to this past week. So I have a finished object to show you. They're done. These are my Easy Colorwork socks by Winwick Mum. These were the low octane lap 1 socks for the Super Sock Worldwide Championship? Super Sock World Championship? I've forgotten the name of it. Oops. Anywho, I showed you these last week. I was not able to get them finished in time to get points for the competition. And now I'm starting to think that I might actually go through this whole thing, all the laps, and not get any points. We'll see. But anyway, last week, this sock was finished and I had completed most of the leg on the second sock. I had got up to the point just at the end of the blue line here, and I finished up the leg and then completed the foot. So I finished this a few days after the time limit to get points for this sock, but so be it. I have a pretty pair of socks. I used 2.25 millimeter needles, or US size 1, and the yarn I used was the light blue is leftover yarn that I dyed for a different pair of socks earlier, and I had some of the leftover remaining, so I used that. And the white is just a bare yarn. So that's the yarn. 2.25 millimeter needles. This is a really fun knit. They're called Easy Colorwork socks, and they were relatively straightforward and simple to knit. These stripes here were just basic stripes. There was not really color work involved or stranded color work. And just these 3 little bands here is the only part that was stranded color work. So, as the pattern called them, they're Easy Colorwork socks. It was a fairly straightforward colorwork design. Fairly straightforward and fairly simple. And they were fun to knit. They're really fun knit, and I love the way they look. I love this blue that I dyed. I didn't write down how I did it, so odds are I'll never be able to repeat it again. But I really love the blue and white combination. I think it looks really, really pretty. And I'm really, really happy with how these turned out. And happy to have yet another pair of finished socks for the year. I don't even know how many I have so far this year. I'll have to give that a count, and if I remember, I'll let you know next week. And once I finished those, I was ready to cast on for the second lap of the Super Sock World Championship. And for those, I actually opted for the high octane pair of socks. I love the look of both pair of socks again, same as the first lap. I really, really love the look of both of them. But the low octane pair, the leg is quite long. And as I've talked about on this podcast before, I have fat legs. And I knew that that length of socks, I'd never get them pulled up my fat legs. So the way the high octane socks were written, it was a little bit more complicated pattern. Neither one are super complicated, but it was a little bit more complicated, a little bit more detailed pattern for the high octane socks. But the leg was a lot shorter, so that made the decision for me right there. But the leg is a bit shorter. I might actually have a chance to finish them on time and get maybe 1 point. Not holding my breath, but we shall see. And then I thought, well, I'll probably make the low octane socks at another point, somewhere down the line, and then I can modify them to make them shorter. And then I'll be able to wear them, and I'll be happy with them, and I'll love them. So this high octane socks, they're called Yellow Brick Road, and it's a pattern by Star Athena. And they're a really pretty pair of socks. And again, for this pair, I'm using 2.25 millimeter needles. That's my standard go-to needle size for working with socks. It usually gives me the correct gauge for the pattern, and it works out nicely pretty much all the time, that size. And I might have shown you this yarn before. It's a yarn I dyed myself, and it's kind of a faded denim bluish gray kind of color. In this light it's looking a little bit more blue, but it does have gray undertones to it. And it's a really pretty color. It's a little bit tonal, semi-solid, and I've made really good progress on these. Here's where I am so far. I'm doing them 2 at a time in tandem. So I did the first cuff, then the second cuff. Then I did the first leg, and then I finished the second leg. Then I did the heel flap and heel turn on the first and the second sock. And now I've done about 5 or 6 rounds on the gusset decreasing on each of the socks, just so it would be a little bit less awkward to show you. And it looks like I'm wrestling with an octopus here. That might not have completely worked. But what my plan is now is I'm going to continue on with one sock, and I will finish the gusset decreases. Then I'll do the gusset decreases, finish the gusset decreases on the second one, and then I'll continue down the first sock all the way to where you start the toe, the second sock all the way down to the toe, and then the toe on each of them. And this round runs until, I think, Tuesday at midnight or Wednesday at midnight. I forget which one. But there's about 3.5 days left of knitting time on these. So I have high hopes that I'll actually get them done before the deadline, and that I'll actually get a point for these. We shall see. So the pattern is a really nice lace design. I'm getting all tangled up here. Oops, get my little tail out of the way. You can see it here. There's a really cute lace design that starts at the top, and then it kind of spirals all the way down. And it's on both sides. So it'll start here with the lace, and again spirals around. And then in between the spirals, there's this neat little checkerboard kind of effect. That's basically a combination of knits and purls and a few knit through the back loop to give it a little bit of this cool texture effect. It has a really neat 4-row heel flap. It's a little bit different than what I've ever done before, and I I like it. It has a nice appearance on the texture has a really nice appearance, and it's nice and squishy. And then the foot will have a little bit different design. So it's going to transition from this design, then it transitions into a different kind of lace pattern coming down the top of the foot. So my hope is that I will have these completed by the time Wednesday gets here, and that I'll actually get a point. If I don't, not the end of the world. I haven't got a point yet. I'm not in any running for any kind of prize on this whatsoever. So I'm just in it for the fun, and I'm in it to make myself more pair of socks. I need more pair of socks like I need a hole in the head, but I love knitting socks. So they are quite likely my very favorite thing to knit, socks. So I'm thinking this might be a short episode today. That's all the knitting I have. I had on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and a little bit of Thursday morning, I had a virtual conference that I was attending. This should have been an international conference that I should have been traveling and in South Africa for this conference right now. With the unease going on in the country now, in hindsight, I'm kind of glad we're not there. But the conference should have been overseas this summer. And because of the pandemic hopefully winding down, they opted to do a virtual conference instead, and we will be in South Africa for the conference in 2 years. This is a conference that runs every second year. And so the conference was done online, and the only disadvantage to the conference being online was that for whatever reason, they opted to have it set at Greenwich Mean Time. So the time in England. And that meant that for my time zone in the East Coast of the US, the conference session started at 1 or 2 in the morning. And I'm not a night person at all. Not at all. So there was no way I was going to catch the sessions that were running in the middle of the night in my time zone. They did record the sessions, so I will be able to go back in about a week or so when they publish them, and I'll be able to catch up on some of the sessions I missed at a later date. But I did end up getting up at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't get up that early anymore. In the last year and a half, I don't have to get up so early. And it was hard. It was really hard to get up that early. But some of the sessions, there was one session one morning started at 5:45 that I thought I could get to, and I really wanted to hear that session in real time, so if I had any questions I could ask them. But that session started at 5:45 in the morning. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I was attending conference stuff from 5:45 or 6:45 in the morning until about 2 or 3 in the afternoon each day. So that gave me lots of knitting time. So I was able to finish my Easy Colorwork socks and get a good start on the Yellow Brick Road socks. I didn't have any yellow yarn, so I should have dyed a skein of yellow yarn in time to do these socks, but I didn't, so oops. So it did allow me to get a lot of time knitting. So that's the one bonus of that. Now this upcoming week, I have less free time where I'll be staring at the computer screen with my hands free. This week coming up, I have some work things that I have to catch up on because I got a bit behind this past week with the conference. So I have some research to work on, and I'll be busy either reading things or typing things up. So I might not have quite as much knitting time, but we shall see. Yesterday, the hubby and I went and checked out a nearby farmer's market, not the one just down the street, but another one that's a little ways down the road from us. So we went and checked that out. We bought some fried chicken and some fresh corn on the cob, fresh blueberries. Oh, they're so good. What else did we get? Nectarines, and I was eyeing up the asparagus, but the water had run out in the bottom of, in the tub they were sitting in, and they didn't look as nice as they could have looked. And we got some fresh garden tomatoes. So supper tonight is going to be fried chicken and corn on the cob with some probably tomato slices to go with it, or maybe some of our little what do you call them? The little mini tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. That's what you call them. Oh my goodness. So some of the cherry tomatoes from our own little plants that we have out on the balcony, we might have some of those to go with supper. But fried chicken and corn on the cob for sure. And then this morning we went to our little local farmer's market just down the street here, and we had a regular breakfast with the sausage, egg, and cheese little sandwich and a cup of peach tea. They were out of cookies. The little stand that we like to get our cookies at, they didn't have it. They had sold all of them out. They had a whole bunch of cupcakes, but hubby and I are not really huge cupcake fans. Cookies, yes. Cupcakes, not quite so much. So we had our breakfast, and I got my little bouquet of flowers. And that was it. We kind of came home a little bit empty-handed. But wasn't it a pretty little bouquet? It's such a pretty flower. I'm really enjoying getting these little tiny bouquets every week. They're just the most adorable. I love them. Not much smell to them, but they're so, so pretty. I really do like them. So, and that's been a highlight this summer, is getting a little miniature bouquet of flowers every week. So I'm just thoroughly enjoying them. Once I'm done filming, I'll take this over to the other side of the room and put them on the little cabinet beside me so I can look at them on a regular basis. And otherwise, that's it. It's been a really quiet, uneventful week. I've just been quietly knitting and attending the virtual conference. My hand is still sore, so I am taking a lot of breaks when I'm knitting, and just kind of resting my hand, and then I'll knit for a while and then rest my hand. I am planning on trying to work on socks using the 9-inch circulars, but I have a pair. I bought a set, or a pair. Are they a pair? I got 9-inch circulars it's been a while back now, and I'm going to have to sit down and try using them. And I think I might film the process. Just a little 15-minute. I've read a few places where they've suggested people, when they're starting to use those, is just to knit for 10-15 minutes and then put it aside, and then come back later, another 10-15 minutes, and put it aside. My biggest concern is getting used to holding them, because I have big man hands, and those little needles, it's gonna be very unusual to get used to using them, and I'm gonna have to retrain my hands for how to use them, because I'm used to, when I have the knitting needle in my hand, is I really have it propped in, like it sits in my hand a certain way that it leans against my hand here, whereas the little itty bitty needles, they're not going to have that same kind of support that I'm used to. But we'll see. I am going to give them a try, and I do plan on trying to videotape that. And I might have like a little series where I'll just show some footage of me trying to learn to knit using 9-inch circulars. So wish me luck with that. It's not going to happen in the next few weeks, but down the road I plan on just a plain vanilla pair of socks and see what happens. So on that note, I really don't have much else to tell you about. Actually, nothing else to tell you about. So I should pack it in, get going, and get a little bit more work done on the gusset decreases on these socks. The hubby's having a nap, so I'm gonna wake him up in a little bit so we can get ready for supper. I'll do the editing on this first, and then once processing, I'll get him up and we'll get supper going. And otherwise, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you guys again next week. Bye now.